Now I'd like to introduce our speaker spark. The common threads of our story include being British, drinking tea, radical emotional honesty and truth, and being on a path to find her way out of suffering since her parents divorced and her nana died by suicide when she was a child. She spent a lot of time in personal development as a student and life coach, trying to get out of her suffering, which ultimately harmed her and led her to spirituality. And spirituality then ultimately harmed her again and led her to the truth of here and now. So she's bringing together a non-dual perspective and a human's perspective. She shares how her life appears to be unfolding in both ways and how it feels confusing, miraculous, mundane, and infinitely intelligent. So please give a warm welcome to our speaker spark, Clee Stacy. And she is on Zoom. So if you'd like to turn your chairs around, that probably will be a good thing.
Hi. Oh, I can see everyone. Hi, this is so lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. And it's such an interesting thing to have my words read back at me. There's something about that that's just so touching, you know, meeting yourself in a different way. And it feels like that's ultimately what we're all trying to do. What I'm trying to do certainly is just trying to meet myself, continuing to try and meet myself, and not the ego me necessarily, although sometimes that can be fun and sometimes that can be horrible, but the me, the everything me. And I want to talk a little bit about how my journey, and I really can only speak for myself, and I want to make that super clear. And I come from a very atheist upbringing. It took a lot for me to even admit to myself that there might be something more. And the interesting dynamics for all of us, wherever we've come from, of finding what is true for us, what's true for me, in a world that's telling us what to believe, for good, for bad, for whatever reason. But finding ourselves is finding myself. And I'm not even fully sure what finding myself even means anymore. I feel like I've heard that phrase said in so many different contexts: personal development, religion, spirituality, or the vast array of different spiritual understandings. Like, what does it actually mean to know myself? Is it, the fact that I'm British and I'm 34 and I like tea? Maybe. But it's such a strange thing. But in the last year, I've stopped drinking so much tea, and it sounds so weird, but I felt weird about that. I felt confused about, who am I if I don't drink tea, which is a small, almost insignificant part of who I am. But when so much is held onto these different parts of our identity, it's so curious to see those fall apart. And notice the sensation and the feelings that come with that. And my journey has really been, in the last few years, about this grappling with, understanding, making peace with my human experience, and then knowing that this is all a dream, an illusion, or an appearance. I don't know. I don't have the words for it. Words seem to escape me as soon as I start touching that subject. But this infinite intelligence that moves us all as one, and this feeling like I'm separate. And how as I talk about it, I can't get it. I don't understand. And the more I try to understand, the less I understand. And I think there's something beautiful about that. I listening to other teachers share about how it's really not about knowing in the mind, the stories of the mind, which we can get wrapped up in all sorts of different ways, including spiritually. But the truth usually has felt somewhat open and expansive, but often unknown and scary and mysterious. And so when I get to that place of like, I really don't know what is going on, I tell myself the story, and this is also just a belief because I don't know anything, is, oh, I think this knowing nothing might be it. I think maybe that's what I'm going for, actually. I don't really know because I've stopped going for anything at that point, which gets very confusing. The mind is always trying to make it make sense. Every time I hit something that feels expansive and open, the mind goes, oh, that's it. Oh, goodness, lost it again. But I wonder if it is lost or if it's just always just there. The other piece that's been opening up for me has been around shame, shaming, shame that I felt for as long as I can remember, in big ways, small ways, trying to get it right, trying to not be wrong, trying to be good, trying to not be bad, trying to be correct, trying to be intellectual, trying to be the right thing all the time for fear of not feeling good enough. And it feels like it's felt like something that's hard to navigate because there's so much love in this world, but there's so many people who are confused, me included. I have been a life coach. I've been a self-love coach when I didn't know how to love myself. I've been a procrastination coach when I had no idea how to get over my procrastination. I have been a coach for entrepreneurs when the only way I'd been an entrepreneur is been a coach for other people, not knowing what I was doing. So I've been so inauthentic, so out of integrity. It's funny. I find it hilarious now. I feel a bit of guilt, but I think we all have had moments where we do that. And the whole reason why I did all those things was I was trying to be good enough. I was constantly trying to be good enough. Always, always, always. And I really love what was talked about just now in that, this is the age of Aquarius and we're moving towards a new earth, or it's here and we're just kind of figuring it out, trying to work out how to do this, bringing it in, however we want to talk about it. I feel that. I'm deeply Aquarius in my astrology. My husband is exactly the same. I find it very hard to stay within rules. My whole energy system is like in the new world, and I kind of don't understand the world we live in. So I feel very much this pull. And for me, I really wish that it was as simple as allowing love into my heart and just allowing and encouraging and just talking about love and just talking about light and just focusing on gratitude. And I know, or it seems that works for some. And I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous because that's just not how it's been for me. And it has taken a lot for me to admit that to myself. But I finally had to because I felt so depressed and so suicidal and just didn't want to be here. And it's not that I wanted to die. It was just like, I don't know how to do this living thing. It's too painful. It's just too painful. I'd rather not do it anymore. But other people are okay, so there must be a way. I saw that there must be a way. And I knew I was kind of in the right world. There were people who got it. There were people who seemed genuinely happy, genuinely okay, and not just happy, but content, even when they weren't okay. And that's the piece for me that's been really interesting. And for me, it ties really, not just ties in, but to me, it's the way that we get to 5D. It's the way that we get to the new world. It's the way we bring it through, is by always bringing love everywhere. That includes bringing love to shame. That includes bringing love to fear. That includes bringing love to hate. That includes bringing love to jealousy, contempt, anger. It includes bringing love to every emotion that we don't want to feel. And so it's been this exploration, and it continues to be every day. I'm deep in the middle of it right now, of trying to figure out and myself this opening to feel everything, to allow feeling to happen, to recognize that every uncomfortable, negative feeling, what we call negative, they aren't negative, they have a purpose. Every single emotion has a purpose. For me, in my experience and what I've seen in nervous system research, it's given me freedom. And I find that fascinating, that what we're all moving towards and what we're hoping for and feeling towards, actually, I don't know if anyone else notices this, but I'm feeling towards this new earth. It's not thinking. I don't know it in my head. It's not, I can't see it outside. Actually, I think most of us might agree that outside it's going mental. It's not looking like it's getting better very quickly. It looks like it's getting a hell of a lot worse. But there's this feeling that we are all here today because we can feel this pull, this knowing that something is changing. It's like in our bones, it's in our gut, it's in our soul. It's just like in our DNA somehow. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. But we're moving towards that direction. But I don't think we get there by continuing to deny what is known as negative. For me, the only way I have had many more moments of freedom and love and connection and openness in conflict, which stops becoming conflict when everyone is open about their feelings. Really open communication requires being able to feel your emotions, share them, not throw them on someone, and let them percolate and move in the body. And so it's this bringing together this very physical, emotional, body-led process that happens in every single one of us. We are all feeling emotions all the time because emotions are a physical, biological process. We feel happy and we have serotonin and dopamine when our body says, yes, this is good, we like this. It's taking us towards those things. Eating gives us serotonin and dopamine because our bodies want us to know to do that again. When you put your finger in flame, ow, don't do that again. Like it's very biological. When someone comes to hit you, you create anger and action and all these emotions. It's all really healthy. It only gets toxic when we repress it, when we say, no, that's not okay. No, I don't want to feel that. The emotions themselves are literally just a sensation in the body. That is it. The emotion itself, anger isn't hitting someone, that's violence. Anger is the feeling of action, of wanting to move, of injustice, it's a feeling in the body. My hands immediately do this. It's a feeling, it's a get up and go, it's defense. We can feel it in the body, but you could do nothing but feel it in the body. And if we can just move through these feelings in the body, they aren't negative. We don't have to wish them away. In fact, we can understand their wisdom. If we know that there's nothing but love, nothing but love, then aren't these emotions also of love? Aren't they also full of wisdom and teachings? I feel so. I thought I was really good at relationships. Turns out I was super codependent. And I thought I was the queen of commitment. No, I just did not know how to not be in a relationship. And most of my relationships, I cheated on my partner. In fact, pretty much all of them. And the only ones I didn't cheat on my partner, it was an open relationship that I didn't want to be open. So, and that was it. I have cheated on partners. And I can say that because I've looked so head on to the shame, to the guilt, to the pain, and ultimately to the disconnection. I was disconnected from myself. That's why I couldn't connect to my partner. That's why I went looking for it elsewhere. But the only way I can say with most certainty, because I can't see a crystal ball, but with my awareness that I have, I just can't see it possible that I would ever cheat again. It just doesn't make sense. I don't want to go somewhere else. What I really want, I know, is connection to myself, with myself, as myself. But that has only come because I've fully faced that stuff. And I didn't do it with a psychotherapist. And I didn't do it with other people trying to help me so much. I did it because I had to. I did it because there was no freaking choice. If I want to be in a healthy relationship, I have to look. I have to work. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt anyone else. And taking a step back, in the new world, people don't need to cheat on each other because they have connection with each other and they have connection with their partner. But that happens because we've looked at the painful things. We don't go and hurt people because we can take responsibility for what's going on here. We can heal it in connection with safe people. I could go on and on about this for hours, and I do most of my day, because it's been the only thing that's helped me. It really has been the only thing that's helped me. And I say that within the context of like so much, there's almost, you know, all those pains also help me because they help open my eyes. And spirituality can be this double-edged sword. I find it can be like everything. Spirituality is like no different than anything else. We like it. We like to believe it is, but it's also not. And it is and it's not, right? Spiritual bypassing can happen to the best of us, and I think it usually does happen to the best of us. And absolutely me included. It's so easy to say, we're all one. Let's be in bliss state. Let's just connect with love and light. That's great. And if someone goes into your car in the parking lot, you might be angry. Like, is that going to feel so love and lighty? If your car if something happens to your house, if someone happens to your partner, like, we have anger, sadness, frustration, guilt, jealousy. These things happen because we're human. And so I'm really interested in how we can all, but I'll be honest, me, myself, and I, because I can't control what everyone else is doing. All I can do is share my experience. I just want to stop hating on the things that happen around me. I want to continue to learn to, just like we said earlier, love, but including the things that it's really hard to love. Because that seems to be what's setting me free. And that's really hard. Like, I wonder if, I wish people would share about how that is hard as well. How to choose love actually is hard. It's not that we don't want to. God, don't we want to? It's just, sometimes there's an inner child, there's a core wound that's screaming. And actually, that is also of love. It's an inner old wound that was calling for love when we were 2, 3, 4, or 5. And it doesn't have to be this big capital T trauma. It can be a moment where your mom was the best mom in the world, and then suddenly she had to run out the room because she remembered the stove was still on and she had to deal with that mess, and she knew you were safe, but you felt abandoned for 5 minutes. She knew you were safe, but you felt completely abandoned. And that might be still messing with us. And to not acknowledge that there's a feeling of, sometimes I feel abandoned and I don't know why. To just ignore that and say, no, love and light. I do love love and light. But to ignore the truth of also what's here with a a core wound, a trauma, it's allowing shadow. It's continuing to exacerbate shadow and darkness, because the only reason things feel dark is because we haven't put the light on it yet. We call a shadow because there's no light on it. As soon as you put light on it, it becomes part of the light. This summer has been probably one of my best and worst summers of my life. I felt so at the mercy of life, trauma after trauma coming up, just crying and having these big releases, and at the same time feeling so much freer after them. And I'm so grateful for every moment of that, because I can see that unless I shine the light of awareness, shine the light of love, shine the light of just being aware of what's here and not saying, "Ugh, it's too much, go away. I'm not safe, go away." Shutting that part of me down. It's only when I come to those pieces and say, "Oh my God, there's a little girl inside of me who is so afraid, who is so scared, and she needs love." That's the place to pour the love. It's not just surface level. Can we pour love into those parts of us that are craving it, that look like they're hateful and jealous and shameful and guilty? Can we look at those parts of us and actually listen to them, like we're listening to a child, and giving it as much space and love as we can possibly give it? Because we all deserve that. As an adult and as a child, that inner child is still calling out and crying out, and we're still doing things that we don't really want to be doing, and hurting other people slightly, or people pleasing, or hiding, or isolating, or whatever it is we're doing. All those things that we say we're going to do different, but then doesn't happen no matter how much we want to. That's the place to pour love. That's the place to look at the thing we don't want to look at and bring love. It's so easy to say, "Oh, I'm going to be really nice to the people I see in my life today." That's easy. The hard bit is loving the parts of ourselves that we don't want to love, because we have been told by people who should have been loving us unconditionally but couldn't themselves, and there's no judgment there, couldn't love us to the full degree that we wanted and needed to be loved. So we've got to go and do that work now. And I think that's what it feels like to me is going to take us into this new age. We have to look at everything. Everything comes with us. All parts of the emotional rainbow come with us. We don't leave jealousy in the old world. We don't leave hate. We don't leave anger. We bring it with us, but we love it enough that it doesn't need to act out. It gets its small place as a child to figure out how it's supposed to be here and how it's appropriate. But it doesn't need to take up so much space, but it needs its rightful place. Love at the core, but really in the core, all the nooks and crannies. I think that's what's going to do the job for us. Thanks for listening.